risk. What about measles, mumps and rubella vaccine? The same Dr. Landrigan said to the Institute of Medicine, the Japanese study is the best evidence that MMR does not cause autism, and this is how I got into this through MMR. MMR, like the UK, it's a little story that I perhaps should tell you, and that is in the UK, and one of the reasons they had to silence me in the UK is that when MMR was introduced at the end of the 80s, we had three options. One was the Merck vaccine, MMR2, made in America. The other was the Aventis Pasteur vaccine from France, Belgium, and the other was GlaxoSmithKline's MMR Pluzirix. Now, Pluzirix was being used under a different name in Canada, and it was causing meningitis. And so it was withdrawn very quickly. And the person involved in those trials in Canada was brought over to the UK to advise the British government on the introduction of this vaccine because they wanted to use the GlaxoSmithKline vaccine. And he said, don't do it. It's causing this problem. And they ignored him. In the same month that it was withdrawn in Canada, it was licensed in the UK. The only thing that had changed was its name. It changed from Trivirix to Pluzirix. Otherwise, it was identical. And reports of meningitis kept coming in, and they ignored them until 4 years later. They did a study, and they found the rate of meningitis was 100 times that they predicted from what's called passive surveillance, just waiting for reports to come in. And the vaccine was withdrawn overnight. So they were warned, and they did it anyway. And a lot of children were hurt as a consequence. Why did they do it? Because it was cheaper. And because it was the home team, GlaxoSmithKline. So they put the price of a vaccine before the health of children. And that's what he told me on a station in Newcastle in the north of England as a whistleblower. One of the reasons why I had to continue this work, and one of the reasons why they had to silence me. Why? Because Glaxo, well, it wasn't Glaxo at the time, it was SmithKline Beecham, did not want to introduce the vaccine. He said that there were problems. They were aware of these problems in Canada, and they were reluctant to face the legal consequences of that. And it seems that the British government did a deal with them, that they indemnified them. They assumed their liability in order to get this vaccine on the market. And so when I got involved in the MMR litigation in the UK, I thought that we were suing the manufacturers. No, we weren't. It was the government that was on the hook, and it was the government who contacted the dean of the medical school and tried to stop my work, and eventually did in the UK.